Hey, Barbie, soldiers attacked her in changing room, unaware of her 12 years as Navy SEAL. The moment the door slammed, everything inside the changing room froze. 3 soldiers circled her, laughing like they knew exactly who she wasn't. What they didn't know, what none of them could have imagined, was that the quiet woman folding her clothes had once walked through gunfire with a team that never missed. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly above the women's changing room at Fort Willard, throwing cold brightness across metal lockers and damp tiles. The temporary, mixed access during renovation sign hung crooked on the entrance door, but nobody seemed to care, least of all the soldiers who wandered in like they owned the place. Lena Hart stood in front of her locker, folding her gray sweatshirt with slow, steady hands. There was nothing special about her at first glance. Her sandy brown hair was tied back in a low knot, her posture relaxed, her clothes plain. She could have passed for any quiet logistics worker trying not to take up space. But something about her silence bothered them. "Hey, Barbie," a voice echoed from the doorway. "Lose your map." Sergeant Bishop, tall and broad-shouldered, stepped into the room with 2 soldiers trailing behind him. Their smirks moved with them like shadows. Around the room, a few logistics workers suddenly found interesting things inside their lockers. No one wanted to get involved. Lena didn't turn. She arranged her folded sweatshirt into a perfect square and set it down inside her locker, as if she hadn't heard a thing. The room grew uncomfortably still. Bishop walked forward with slow, heavy boots that clicked against the tiles. It was the walk of someone who believed the room belonged to him. His 2 soldiers, Cooper and Jax, followed with the eager confidence of men who admired the wrong person. "I said hey, Barbie," Bishop repeated, louder this time, like a child raising his voice because he wasn't getting attention. Still, Lena continued folding. A towel. Then her t-shirt. Then her sweatpants. Each crease perfect. Each motion steady. There was no tremor in her fingers, no shift in her breathing. Cooper nudged Jax. "Think she's deaf?" Jax snickered. "Or stupid." Someone across the room, an older medic named Harold, paused halfway through tying his boots. His eyes narrowed slightly as he watched her. He'd spent 20 years in combat zones. He knew what fear looked like. He knew what bravado looked like. But what he saw on Lena's face wasn't either. Bishop stopped a foot behind her, close enough that she could feel his breath. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." Lena slid her towel into her locker, closed the door softly, and finally turned. Her eyes were calm. Too calm. And Harold suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. "Barbie doesn't listen well," Bishop said, stepping even closer. His shadow swallowed hers. Lena didn't respond. Not with words. Not even with a blink. Her expression remained perfectly neutral, like she was studying him the way one might study a wall, something present but unimportant. The silence grew heavy. Someone coughed in the corner. Someone else shifted their weight. Cooper broke the tension with a forced laugh. "Maybe she thinks this is a spa. Look at those folded towels." More uncomfortable laughter. The kind people use to hide their guilt. Bishop hated being ignored. His jaw twitched. His pride swelled. And then anger won. He grabbed Lena's shoulder and spun her around, expecting her to stumble. But she didn't. Her feet adjusted instantly, her balance unshaken, her posture unbent. For the first time, Lena looked directly into his eyes. There was no fear there. No panic. Just calculation. Cold, clinical calculation. Harold straightened slowly, heart thudding. He'd seen that look only on people who had survived things the rest of them would never talk about. He murmured under his breath, "Sergeant, don't." But Bishop wasn't listening. And Lena wasn't shaking. Not even a little. "Let go of my shoulder," Lena said softly. Not a threat. Not pleading. Not even angry. Just a quiet instruction. Bishop laughed in her face. "Or what? You gonna cry? File a report? Get someone to save you?" "No," her voice remained calm. "I'm asking you to let go because what happens next will be recorded." She moved her eyes, just barely, toward the camera blinking red in the corner. Cooper's laughter faltered. Jack swallowed. For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed Bishop's expression. Then, like all men who fear losing face, he doubled down. He tightened his grip. That a threat? It's a prediction. Harold stood up fully now, muscles tense beneath his uniform. Bishop, he said sharply, step back. This isn't going the way you think. Stay out of this, old man. But Harold didn't. He looked at Lena again, at her stance, her shoulders, the subtle shift of her weight onto the balls of her feet. He recognized it. He had seen it seconds before explosions, seconds before ambushes, seconds before men did things they couldn't undo. He whispered, almost to himself, she's trained. Bishop didn't hear him, but Lena did. Hold her, Bishop barked, pride drowning out every whisper of common sense. Cooper hesitated. Jax looked sick. But neither wanted to be the one who disobeyed a sergeant. They stepped forward. Cooper grabbed Lena's left arm. Jax grabbed the right. It should have made her helpless, vulnerable, small. Instead, the room felt like it had stopped breathing. Lena didn't fight, didn't twist, didn't scream. She simply stood there, arms pulled behind her, eyes still calm. Harold took a step toward them. Sergeant, I'm telling you. Bishop cut him off. Shut it. He moved closer to Lena, one hand slamming onto the wall beside her head, trapping her between his arm and the cold metal lockers. Coffee breath warmth hit her cheek. Let me explain something, Barbie, he growled. This base runs on respect. And you? You earn nothing by acting tough. For the first time, Lena's breathing changed. Not fear, control. 4 counts in. 4 counts hold. 4 counts out. The rhythm of someone whose body had learned to stay steady in storms other people didn't survive. Harold whispered, Bishop, please. Don't push her. But Bishop smirked. He thought she was breaking. He had no idea what was coming next. Jax felt it first, the subtle tightening of Lena's shoulders beneath his grip. It wasn't fear. It wasn't resistance. It was something far more controlled, far more dangerous. Like a bowstring being pulled back, silently, precisely. Sergeant, Jax murmured, voice cracking. I think. You don't think, Bishop snapped. You follow orders. But even Bishop felt the room change. Something electric filled the air, the kind of quiet tension you feel right before lightning hits the ground. Lena kept her gaze trained on him. Her pupils had widened. Her breathing steady. Her stance almost relaxed. Almost. Harold recognized it instantly. No, 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 he whispered. Not here. Not like this. He took another step forward. Sergeant, let her go. You're about to make the biggest mistake of your life. Bishop barked a laugh. Mistake? She's shaking. But she wasn't. Her entire body was settling, centering, anchoring itself the way a soldier prepares not to attack, but to end something quickly. Lena spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. I gave you a chance to walk away. Bishop rolled his eyes. Or what? Lena shifted her weight half an inch. Just half an inch. That was the moment everything changed. Bishop reached for her collar, ready to shove her. Ready to show everyone he still controlled the room. He never even touched her. Because Lena moved first. The motion was silent, so fast no one saw the beginning of it. One moment she was pinned between 2 men. The next, her left arm twisted inward, snapping Cooper's grip in one smooth rotation. She didn't yank, she redirected. A perfect wrist lock. Cooper gasped, knees buckling as pain shot up his shoulder. Before anyone could blink, her right elbow slammed backward into Jax's solar plexus. Not wild. Not emotional. Measured. Exact. Enough force to drop him without causing permanent damage. Jax folded to the ground, coughing uncontrollably. Cooper stumbled forward, trying to catch himself, only to find Lena already using his own momentum to flip him over her hip. He hit the floor with a heavy thud, air leaving his lungs in a single, pitiful gasp. The entire room froze. Not a sound. Not a breath. Bishop stepped back, shock breaking through his anger. What are you? Lena didn't answer. She simply straightened her clothes, calm as a surgeon resetting tools on a tray. Harold closed his eyes. He knew exactly what she was. Harold stepped forward slowly, like a man approaching a wild animal, but one he understood. One he respected. Everyone back up, he said firmly. Now. No one argued. Even the soldiers who hadn't been touched scrambled away. Bishop's face went red with fury and confusion. She assaulted my men. No, Harold said quietly. She neutralized a threat. 3 threats. Lena didn't turn toward either of them. She simply adjusted her shirt sleeve, as calm as someone preparing breakfast. Bishop pointed at her with a shaking hand. Who the hell are you? Logistics staff don't move like that. Silence. Heavy as stone. Harold breathed out slowly. 12 years, he said. Navy SEAL. The room gasped. Even Bishop stumbled back half a step. That's impossible, he sputtered. There are no female. There aren't, Harold replied. On paper. Lena finally looked up. Her expression didn't change. I didn't come here for recognition, she said. Or respect. I came here to do my job quietly. Bishop's pride battled with the truth hanging in the air. You expect me to believe that? You don't have to, Harold said. But you should believe this. He nodded toward Lena. She doesn't bluff. For a moment, the room felt split down the middle, fear on one side, disbelief on the other. But Bishop's ego didn't allow him to step back. Not in front of his men. Not in a room full of witnesses. He took a staggering step toward Lena. You think being some secret hero gives you the right to disrespect a sergeant? Lena didn't move. Didn't blink. You grabbed me first, she said softly. You escalated. I ended it. Bishop jabbed a finger toward her chest. You're done here. Harold stepped directly between them. No, Sergeant. You are. Move, Bishop snarled. Harold didn't. I've commanded entire battalions. I've trained men who would have outranked you by breakfast, and I know the difference between dominance and desperation. He held Bishop's gaze. Right now? You're drowning. Bishop shoved Harold aside. It was the worst decision he'd made all day, because Lena caught his wrist midair. Not harshly, not violently, just firmly. Her grip was steady, unshakable, cold as steel. Don't, she whispered. Bishop tried to yank his hand back, and failed. For the first time, his eyes showed something real. Fear. Bishop yanked harder, panic rising in his throat. But Lena's hand didn't move. Her fingers stayed locked around his wrist, calm and steady, a quiet force stronger than all his bluster. Let go, he barked. She did. But not before redirecting his momentum. He stumbled backward, crashing into the lockers with a metallic bang. The sound echoed across the room, sharp and humiliating. He scrambled to stand, anger twisting his face. But when he faced her again, he didn't see a logistics worker. He didn't see a Barbie. He saw someone who could have ended him at any moment, but didn't. Someone who chose restraint over violence. Strength over ego. No more, Lena said, her voice soft but final. Cooper, still on the floor, whispered to Jax, she could have killed us. Jax nodded, pale. She chose not to. Bishop's anger drained out of him, leaving only shame. Harold kneeled beside him, voice gentle but firm. Son, you were beaten before you even touched her. Not because she's stronger, but because she knows who she is. Lena turned away, gathering her folded clothes. She didn't bask in victory. Didn't gloat. She simply walked toward the showers, leaving silence in her wake. And a room full of men finally seeing her clearly. Riley stepped into the empty briefing hall. The lights were dim, and the hum of the base generators echoed faintly. Captain Hayes stood alone, waiting. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at her, really looked, at the bruises on her arms, the swelling around her ribs, the quiet fire in her eyes. 12 years, he finally said. Riley nodded. 12 years of serving a country that can't decide whether to call you a hero or a mistake. She didn't flinch. She had heard worse. But Hayes wasn't done. He stepped closer. Riley, you could have quit. You could have disappeared. But you stayed. Why? Her voice was soft, barely above a whisper. Because soldiers don't get to choose easy. Only right. Hayes swallowed hard. For the first time, the weight of everything Riley survived hit him. Not just the battlefield. Not just the missions. But the quiet wars no one else saw. The ones inside locker rooms, training yards, hallways filled with doubts instead of bullets. He nodded slowly. Then it's time, he said. For them to finally know who you are. Riley exhaled. The storm wasn't coming. It was already here. The following morning, the entire company was called to assembly. Hundreds of boots lined the concrete yard. The same men who laughed at her. The same men who doubted her. The same men who nearly broke her bones the night before. Riley marched forward, not limping, not trembling, just steady. Hayes stepped to the podium. His voice thundered over the yard. Yesterday, some of you attacked a fellow soldier in a changing room. Murmurs erupted. No one dared look at her. But before you think this is a disciplinary briefing, Hayes' voice grew sharper. You should know who she really is. He gestured to Riley. She is Lieutenant Riley Torres, 12-year Navy SEAL veteran, 2-time Silver Star recipient, direct action specialist, and the woman who saved 6 of your brothers when the rest of you froze. The yard fell silent. Not a sound. Not a shuffle. Riley didn't look at them with pride. Or revenge. She simply stood tall, the same way she did in uniform, alone on foreign soil, when everything depended on her not breaking. Some lowered their eyes. Some blinked rapidly. Some swallowed guilt like poison. The truth had landed like a grenade. Only this one didn't explode outward. It exploded inward, inside every man standing there. The men who once mocked her now couldn't meet her gaze. She watched them fidget, hands tightening on belts, boots scraping the concrete. Shame was a heavy enemy. And today it had cornered them. One of the soldiers, Daniels, stepped forward. The loudest one. The one who shoved her first. The one who laughed the most. His voice cracked. I didn't know. Riley tilted her head. You shouldn't need to know someone's resumed to treat them like a human. Daniels flinched. The words hit harder than any punch she could have thrown. Another voice spoke up. Martinez. Ma'am, we're sorry. She didn't say it's okay. She didn't say I forgive you. She simply nodded once, the kind of nod that said, you can be better. So be better. Asterisk asterisk. Hayes dismissed the formation, but many soldiers lingered, looking at her like they were seeing her for the first time. Not the Barbie. Not the easy target. Not the woman they underestimated. But a warrior, who had survived more battles than they could count. Later that evening, Hayes found Riley sitting on the steps outside the barrack. The sunset washed the yard in orange and gold. She looked calm. Too calm. You could file charges, Hayes said. They'd be out of the military within a week. Riley shook her head. I'm not here to end careers, Captain. He frowned. They assaulted you. She looked up at him, eyes steady, voice firm. I've been fighting my whole life. If every enemy had to lose for me to win, I'd be alone in the world. Hayes inhaled slowly. Admiration, respect, and something else, pride. What do you want, Riley? He asked. She stared at the fading horizon. I want them to learn, to grow, to carry this moment like armor, not guilt. Hayes nodded. Then you're not just a soldier, he said. You're a leader. Riley smiled faintly. No, Captain. I'm just someone who refused to break. And for the first time, she believed it. Weeks passed. Training resumed. Life went on, but not the same. The men who once mocked her now followed her in drills, asked for advice, watched her with respect earned, not demanded. Daniels approached her after a grueling session. "Ma'am, could you teach me that takedown move you used last month?" Riley raised an eyebrow. "The one that put you on the floor?" He flushed. "Yes, ma'am." She laughed softly, the first real laugh in a long, long time. Whispers spread through the base. Not the mocking kind, the admiring kind. Some stories start with glory. Hers started with bruises, doubt, and a locker room full of cowards. But legends aren't born from easy days. They're carved from the nights that try to break you, from the fights no one sees, from the moments you stand alone and still choose to rise. Riley didn't become a hero that day. She simply reminded the world she already was one. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones no one believes in. The ones who walk through fire quietly. The ones who fight battles others never see. Riley's story isn't about pain. It's about power. Not the kind that destroys. The kind that endures. And teaches others how to rise too.